Okay.
All right. So, as most people are aware, we can move through 3 different planes in 2 directions with our shoulder joint. So, I can move through my frontal plane with a small amount of distortion, right? Which I'm moving through the frontal plane. That would be like a backstroke, for example, is moving through the frontal plane. If I go the other direction, that is my forward crawl or freestyle stroke. Going backwards would be like, but that's still one plane of movement. I can have my arms move through my sagittal plane, which again is only a mild amount of distortion, and I can do that 2 different directions, clockwise and counterclockwise, right? So that's my frontal plane, my sagittal plane. I can also move in an incomplete manner by being able to move through this plane, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the only ways the shoulder joint moves. So the idea that somebody says it's omnidirectional, no, it moves in one plane at a time. It can't move. Your shoulder can't move through multiple planes at the same time. It moves. It can move through one plane and transition to another plane, and transition back. But it moves singularly through combination. So you can tick back and forth. Think of it like a 3-dimensional Etch-a-Sketch. So if an Etch-a-Sketch had a 3-dimensional directional button, that's kind of the way your shoulder works.
Okay.
And because it can move in a circle in 3 different planes that it can change where it's moving, that's what gives us the ability to transition. But we can't move in more than one plane at a time. We can transition between the different planar movements. Does that
yes.
work?
Yes.
And that is how you also understand the movement, correct? Of the way that the shoulder operates?
Yes, absolutely.
So what's important in this particular exercise is understanding that as this is coming, that initially we're working on changing which plane of the shoulder, and we create that plane of motion through creating arm swing, right? By being able to change where the elbow's at. To be able to do frontal plane, we actually have to have the elbow presented as far forward as possible. That's like butterfly. Butterfly is actually working through the frontal. Butterfly a butterfly stroke isn't working solely through this plane. A butterfly stroke is actually going from working, is rotational, it comes back, and it comes through, hits the water, and then it works out. It's working through.
I see that. Okay.
Transitions to back, it's working through a lot of different planes, right? Where when I am up doing this, what looks cool, and the reason this goes up is I can't have this because now I have no way of moving. If my chest is up, that's actually where I get access to my range of motion from my sagittal plane. So I can't be, if I'm back, I actually don't have, because at this point I don't have a sagittal plane because this can't swing this direction in the joint.
Mm-hmm.
For it to be able to swing all the way around in the joint, I have to have my spine lifted forward so it has access to the back of the socket. If it's pushed forward in the socket, I can't actually move through that plane. So what you're seeing is this is actually a very forward presentation of moving up. This is moving through my frontal plane. Through my sagittal plane, and it's being presented in a way that makes it look like it's behind because I've tipped forward. So as that is going here, my plane would actually be going this way.
Okay.
Boom, boom, boom. Now it transitions. So if I go to the top here, then it can transition to one of the others. But this is not going through my dorsal ventral plane. It's only moving through my sagittal plane. But it's moving through my sagittal plane with my chest in an extreme forward position and a small lean. Because if you notice, she's presented with as much as she can, taking the spine to its most forward position without pinching forward or back. But she has a small lean, which is tilting the body, which changes the angle. So right now, if I move through this sagittal plane, you get this lift. Now, if I continued, my arms would actually move forward and in front of me. But as long as I'm just maintaining this position here, this is where the arm moves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't make that obvious. If I tilt, that creates this illusion, right? If I'm tilted, this makes that look like it went behind me.
Yes.
From the back angle, so that you can see it. If I'm straight up and down, as I do this, you don't notice it, right?
Right.
But if I lean this way, now, oh, look at that.
Okay.
Right? So this is movement. But to do that, do you see where my elbows are?
Yeah.
The problem I'm having right now is you're trying to keep your elbow here to get to that position, and it doesn't work. So the idea is I'm really going through this plane, and in order to do that the way she's doing that, your elbows have to present here. So it's as inwardly rotated as your elbow can be and swing through the sagittal plane. Try that.
Okay, let me stop the video.